Hi, my name is Tavares Hutchinson. I've been in prison for 23 years for a crime that I didn't commit. What happened to me can happen to anyone. So anybody can be telling this story, but this is not just any story. This is my story. It all began in 1999. I was in a relationship with this young queen, and one day, while riding through the hood, we got into this big argument like we always did. But on this day, I ain't had no time for that low energy. So I stopped the car, politely let her out my car, then drove off. But as I was driving away, I saw a detective pulling up. But they always pulling up where I'm from. And I ain't have a warrant that I knew of, so I continued to drive off.
So later on that night, she hit me up and said, the detective said you got a fresh one for armed robbery. This was a lie she told. Now I wasn't out there robbing, but I was in the street. And in the jail, they'll put a robbery on you quick. So coupled with that, and me seeing her talking to the detective, I believed her. So now I'm back with her, but now I'm looking over my shoulder, applying the laws of expectation and the laws of active fate. Now I'm thinking incarceration. Now I'm visualizing myself back in blues. Now I'm speaking incarceration into the atmosphere. Every time I pull up on my homeboys, I'm saying things like, well, you know them people looking for me. Well, you know I'm finna go back to prison for robbery. And every day, I'm living in fear. See, fear is just as powerful as faith. It's just inverted faith. It's faith in what you don't want to happen. Now keep in mind, in reality, the police are not studying me. But in my mind, they were. And at the time, I had no idea that what becomes real in your mind will become real in your life. I had no idea that with my words, I could speak things into existence. All I knew at that time is that I was a young street hitter. So in ignorance to spiritual law, I continued to put this negative energy into the atmosphere. And after 30 or 40 days, as I was going to make a sale in Davie, the police pulled me over. Now initially, they looking for dope. But when they ain't find any, they took my chain out my pocket and made me a robbery suspect. For over 40 minutes, they had me sitting on the scene. Until finally, they brought a patrol car on the scene with a black male in the back seat. Now this black male was allegedly robbed 2 hours earlier for his chain and wedding ring. Now I never seen this dude a day in my life and don't know nothing about no robbery. Yet this dude identified me as the person who robbed him, and I've been in here ever since. Now for years, I'm screaming that I'm innocent, which physically I am. I ain't robbed nobody. But as I gain knowledge of self by reading the Bible and other literature, as I begin to know who God is and my relationship to God, in God's spiritual law which says, as a man think in his mind, so will his life be, I began to realize that like Job 3:25, what I feared came to me. I feared the police pulling me over for robbery. I feared being accused for robbery. I feared losing trial. I feared catching a life sentence. And poof, there I was with a DC number and a life sentence.
The injustice in my case started with the Fort Lauderdale Police Department. In the police report, Sergeant Rodriguez claimed that he saw the chain in plain view. This was a big lie. Before he even arrived, the driver and I had been stopped and illegally searched. The officer who searched me took the chain out of my pocket and asked me about a robbery. I told him I don't know nothing about no robbery. Now he knew that his illegal search wouldn't hold up in court. So instead of giving the chain back to me, he put it in the door handle disc so that Sergeant Rodriguez can come from behind him, flash his flashlight, and say that he saw it in plain view. They played me. But this is the type of deceptive and unfair games that they play. Because I had a necklace and somebody got robbed for that necklace the previous night, they pinned the crime on me. I'm a father, a son, a black man. But on that night, I was nothing more than a convenience for them to solve a case and make them look good. My case should have never been taken to trial because the alleged victim in my case was a drug addict. He was on crack at the time. So his testimony should have never been taken as credible. In the police report, he alleged that he was coming home from a drug program on 6th Street. And while walking down 15th Ave, which is drug infested, somebody came from behind and robbed him for his chain and wedding ring. He then walked to the police station, which happened to be across the street from where he lived, and reported a robbery. Now, at the end of this report, Officer Jackson, the one who wrote this report, noticed something important. He noted that Dan Sharp wanted him to drive him home to verify to his wife that he was robbed. Now, Officer Jackson didn't have to put this in his report, yet he put it in there because it was suspicious to him. He was trying to tell us something, and I salute him for that. Yet during trial, Officer Jackson took the stand and laid down on me. He told the jury everything but this. He made the state look good, even though he knew he should have been taken up for my innocence. However, Sharp asking Officer Jackson to drive him home was suspicious to me also. Because, for one, I don't know anybody who would rob a drug addict for their jury when all they had to do was get them crack in exchange for their jury. For two, what type of person asked the police to drive them home to verify that they was robbed? This sounded crazy to me. And if it sounded crazy to me, I knew it had to sound crazy to the prosecutor, the judge, and everybody else that was responsible for holding me in jail. This is like staying out all night, then asking my friend to come home with me and tell my wife that I was with her. I can't say that Sharp lying. It's possible that somebody did rob him, but this statement makes the alleged robbery look fabricated. Either way, this wasn't enough evidence to charge me, let alone convict me. And I don't blame him. I blame the system, because the law is supposed to protect us from these type of frivolous accusations. But this is what they do in the judicial system. They hand us young males who know nothing about the law a stacked deck. They force us to play our pair of threes against their poker aces. On top of that, when we lose trial and end up in prison, though we know nothing about the law, they give us 2 years to file a 3.850 and 1 year in between those 2 years to file a federal haid. Mind me, the average lawyer studies law at least 6 years before they get their degree. Yet, they expect us laymen to learn the law and find all our errors in our case before the 2-year time limit has run out. When we get to prison, we get in that law library, and we do our best to learn the law. Yet, we lucky to only get 1 day a week in the law library for 2 to 3 hours, while the prosecutor, who we are litigating against, are in their law library's computers every day. They 10 steps ahead of us. So they capitalize off the errors we make. And by the time we do get to where we need to be in law, that time limit has run out. They got the game so sold up, I don't know what else to tell you. The state came to me with a 10-year deal. I turned it down. Now, I get a lot of smoot from family and friends about turning this deal down. But it's easy to say what you should have did in hindsight. Life is about making choices. And it's a different ball game when you in that ring fighting for your freedom. The truth is, as an innocent man, I shouldn't have to choose between going to trial or leaving my 10-month-old daughter to do 10 years for a crime that I didn't do. The fact that most people would rather me take a 10-year deal for a crime that I didn't do rather than go to trial says a lot about our judicial system. They don't trust it. It's not working. I get it. I had to go back, I made the same choice. Because my choice was not the problem. My ignorance to the law was the problem. My people perished for a lack of knowledge. Had I knew the law, we would have never made it past the preliminary hearing. Now in trial, the state filed a motion in limine because they didn't want my lawyer to present anything to the jury about this alleged victim being on drugs or that he was coming home from a drug program. I thought this was unfair because the jury didn't get to see this dude or the situation for what it really was. And with no evidence against me, they found me guilty. On that day, I realized that I was up against an unfair system. And I'll never forget, my prosecutor was a blonde named Sharon Tate. I was the first case that she ever tried. When the jury found me guilty, she celebrated her first win, not knowing that on the first case she ever tried, she sent an innocent man to prison. Once again, I realized that they weren't out for justice. They were out for a win, by all means possible.